In 1995, in the Journal of Neurophysiology, an article was published demonstrating the effects that mental rehearsal alone had on developing neural networks in the brain. Neural networks are individual clusters of neurons or nerve cells that work together and independently in a functioning brain. Neural nets, as we will affectionately call them, are the latest model in neuroscience to explain how we learn and how we remember. They can also be used to explain how the brain changes with each new experience, how different types of memories are formed, how skills develop, how conscious and unconscious actions and behaviors are demonstrated, and even how all forms of sensory information are processed. Neural networks are the current understanding in neuroscience that explains how we change on a cellular level. In this particular research, 4 groups of individuals were asked to participate in a 5-day study that involved practicing the piano in order to measure the changes that might take place in the brain. The first group of volunteers learned and memorized a specific one-handed 5-finger sequence that they physically practiced every day for 2 hours during that 5-day period. The second group of individuals was asked to play the piano without any instruction or knowledge of any specific sequence. They played randomly for 2 hours every day for 5 days without learning any sequence of notes. The third group of people never even touched the piano, but were given the opportunity to observe what was taught to the first group until they knew it by memory in their minds. Then they mentally rehearsed their exercises by imagining themselves in the experience for the same length of time per day as the participants in the first group. The fourth group was a control group. They did nothing at all. They never learned or practiced anything in this particular experiment. They never even showed up. At the end of the 5-day study, the experimenters used a technique called transcranial magnetic stimulation along with a few other sophisticated gadgets in order to measure any changes that took place in the brain. To their surprise, the group that only rehearsed mentally showed almost the same changes involving expansion and development of neural networks in the same specific area of their brain as the participants who physically practiced the sequences on the piano. The second group, which learned no piano sequences at all, showed very little change in their brain, since they did not play the same series of exercises over and over each day. The randomness of their activity never stimulated the same neural circuits on a repetitive basis and thus did not strengthen any additional nerve cell connections. The control group, the ones who never showed up, evidenced no change at all. How did the third group produce the same brain changes as the first group without ever touching the keyboard? Through mental focusing, the third group of participants repeatedly fired specific neural networks in particular areas of their brain. As a result, they wired those nerve cells together in greater measure. This concept in neuroscience is called Hebbian Learning. The idea is simple. Nerve cells that fire together, wire together. Therefore, when gangs of neurons are repeatedly stimulated, they will build stronger, more enriched connections between each other. From the book Evolve Your Brain by Dr. Joe Dispenza.